was taken off of a United Airlines flight in handcuffs. He says this happened after he lightly tapped a flight attendant on the arm to ask for a cup of ice for his son. The story going viral online after Davis wrote about the incident on social media over the weekend. And now Davis and his wife Tamiko are speaking out, and they are joining Aaron Burnett for this cable exclusive. Aaron?
All right, Brianna, thank you so much. And as Brianna's talking about it, this incident is extremely controversial. It touches on so many important issues in this country. Terrell Davis and his wife, Tamiko, are here with us now. And thank you both for being here. This isn't where you expected to be. You're supposed to be on vacation.
Yes.
Disney Beach in California. That's where you were flying. And now, instead, you're here. And you're here because your son wanted a cup of ice. Flight attendant didn't hear, cart moved past, and you just reached to tap the flight attendant.
Just like that. I mean, you described it. That was the only interaction I had with the flight attendant. And then once I touched him or tapped him on his shoulder, he spun back and said, "Don't hit me." He left the cart there, went into the cockpit, or went up to first class, and we didn't see him for about 5 or 10 minutes, or at least 5 minutes. She was on the other side. And then he came back and he placed a cup of ice on my son's tray, grabbed the cart, took it up to first class.
That was it.
That was it.
And what was the tap? I mean,
demonstrate.
A typical that.
Yeah, just
first I raised my
sorry, I
hand.
missed you. Yeah,
exactly. So
right.
I said, excuse me, and he didn't hear me. So I tapped him.
Right.
And then that's when he spun back and
right,
said,
because sometimes they pass you and there's 3 people in each, you're trying to get the right. Okay.
Right.
So did anybody say anything to you after that initial, when he said, don't hit me?
Yeah, as I was looking confused about what happened, there was a gentleman that was sitting in front of me in a window seat, and he turned around and he said, "Dude, you didn't hit him." He said, "I saw that. You didn't hit him." I was like, "Yeah, of course I didn't hit him." I was like, "Man," and then so that was it. And so he had seen what happened. Guy goes up there, and then from there, like I said,
the flight went on.
The flight went on. It was a typical flight from that point on.
So you didn't think anything had happened? I mean, other than this was awkward.
Why would I?
Right, but yeah.
Why would I? There was no exchange back. Normally, there's an argument, there's something, and then, maybe there's if there was a hit.
And to me, just be clear, the flight goes on. You didn't even see this.
No idea.
Right, because you are a family of 5. So you've got 1, you've got 2.
Exactly. And I've got my headphones on. I'm interacting with my daughter, enjoying the flight. So if there was this big commotion that warranted the reaction,
right,
it would have caught my attention.
Okay, so then nothing happens. You land. You're thinking, okay, we're going to Disney. And where you're going. And then the FBI Los Angeles field office, which did confirm to us, they responded to this, to a reported flight incident. They board the plane.
Yes.
Okay. When do you see this?
Well, they told everybody to stay on the flight and stay seated. And I just thought there was like a medical emergency, somebody gotten sick or something. And so again, I'm reading their magazine and just kind of just waiting for them to allow us to get up. And I hear it before I see it, because I can hear I can hear commotion, I can hear the radio, I can hear you can hear when they board a plane. And then I looked up and I'm watching them and they're coming down the aisle and they just come right up to me.
So they're coming down the aisle. At this point, you're like, who is it? What do they need? And then they stop at you.
They stop at me. The gentleman leans over. He has a big FBI on his jacket. And he leans over and he's got handcuffs. And I'm looking at him and he says, "Don't fight it. Don't fight it." And he puts the cuffs on me.
And your boys are there.
And my boys are there. And my daughter's there. My wife is there. And it's like, I felt so, like I was stripped of my dignity. I was powerless. I couldn't do anything. I'm wondering what's going on. They didn't ask me any questions. I had no chance to even explain what happened, if anything happened.
So, but I mean, so he reaches down to you with handcuffs.
Handcuffs.
Your boys are right there, right?
Boys are right there.
It's 3 in a row, coach. And are you thinking why?
I am confused.
But you're calm, and I think
you're calm.
Terrell, he had no choice but to comply.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother level to this. You know, I think he's not given an opportunity to ask questions or to challenge or to say, wait, what's happening? Because the FBI agent came right to him, not asking his name, not giving any type of explanation. The first words that the FBI agent told him was, don't make a scene. Don't fight it. So what can he do? Terrell knows better. Unfortunately, historically, in these situations, interaction with law enforcement as a black man, you can't fight, you can't resist, you can't ask. And I don't want to say fight. You can't ask. So thank God my husband has the wherewithal, the class, the understanding to know in that moment all he could do was sit there and comply and be humiliated in front of his sons and the 200, whatever, however many people were on that plane. They didn't give him any other options.
And you talk about being humiliated. Did you feel in that moment, you talk about historically and being black, did you feel your blackness in that moment?
That's, you know what, that's a perfect word to use in this case, because it's not what you think, it's how people make you feel. And I certainly felt like that wouldn't have happened if I were a person that was a white person, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened.
Right.
That's what I felt. Now, whether that's true or not, that's a different conversation. But yeah, you felt like that it was no degree of like respect or courtesy or anything like that.
Regard.
United has issued a statement. They said, this is clearly not the kind of travel experience we strive to provide. We've reached out to Mr. Davis's team to apologize, and we've removed the flight attendant from duty while we closely review this matter. From that, I just want to ask you a couple things. But first of all, the flight attendant.
Yeah.
The flight attendant, I guess it's not even clear what the race of the flight attendant was, right?
Right.
No.
To you?
Not at this point, no. And
It was a man.
it was a man. It was a man.
That's all we know.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm furious is that when you make that call, like what your intent, because you know as a flight attendant what the code words are that would trigger a response that you got. So you went to the cockpit or up front and you made a call and you used these words because they told me later this is why they responded the way they responded, that I struck him.
Struck was
Struck.
the word that he used. Is that what? So was it
That's
the
what
FBI tell you
said.
this? Yeah.
They said that the flight attendant reporting being struck
By a passenger.
by a passenger. So when they came on, that's the information they had, was that that passenger struck a flight attendant.
And did they treat you when you had the back and forth with them and they released you? How did all this essentially become? They realized that this was nothing, right? Now you've got to deal with United, but in that moment,
Yeah, they took me through their process and they interviewed me and they said I didn't have to speak, but I said, you know what, I want to. And I didn't need an attorney there, and I spoke and I told him what happened. And you can kind of tell when I told him, he kind of looked at me like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. And he was like, you could tell he didn't believe what was happening. But I said, there was a passenger in front of me who saw it.
The guy who said, yeah.
So thank God. Thank God he was on the plane.
and they talked to him.
They talked to him.
And he said the same thing,
yeah.
right? And then when they came on, you're saying a lot of people then, I guess they start picking up their phones and recording.
Yeah, as I was leaving, they were recording the incident. I mean, it was just the most embarrassing, humiliating experience I've ever had. I don't want anybody. I think, what I take away from this is that I don't want anybody to ever have to go through that. Like if a passenger on a plane. Now I know you have some unruly passengers. I know, I've seen them.
Yep.
But you cannot, I guess,
Have that much power.
Have that kind of incident, or quote unquote. There wasn't an incident, and just take a passenger who's done nothing, and then believe the flight attendant, and then treat them like they are a convict. That's the part I'm having a problem with. Is there's got to be some processes in place. When he made the call, did somebody corroborate the story?
Right.
And I think, like you said, when you alluded to like a convict, someone who's been convicted of something has due process.
Yeah.
Steps are taken. There's explanation. There's context.
Yeah.
My husband had no context.
And is there any message you would have to that flight attendant now?
I just want to know why. I mean, I want to know why. And if I were to talk to him, I'd tell him, I want you to talk to my kids, and I want you to look them in the eyes and tell them why you did what you did. Why did you try to harm your dad, potentially trying to harm this family?
Not potentially. He harmed our family.
Yeah,
he harmed our
right.
children. And
Yeah.
to acknowledge
And try
their
to-
pain,
yeah.
to acknowledge the trauma, to acknowledge the experience that they will never forget
No.
seeing their father hand.
Odell Beckham Jr. The the brothers was kicked out a month ago because of the body odor. Pepper from Salt and Pepper, now Terrell Davis. For those of you that don't know who Terrell Davis is, he was a former Denver Broncos running back, a retired Denver Broncos running back that won 2 Super Bowls when he was playing with John Elway. Look how he experienced while he was flying. This is from United Airlines. I mean, I think, in my opinion, I think all this come together. I'm going to explain to you in a second what I mean by that. But Terrell Davis, all he did was tapping a flight attendant's shoulder because he wanted to get ice for one of his sons. And then all of a sudden he said, in other words, he assaulted me. I'm just paraphrasing it. And they was headed to California for the Disneyland, you know, for vacationing with their kids, with the family. And the FBI came on the plane. Not the LAPD, not the LASD, the FBI. Now picture it for a moment. The FBI, he was sitting there, nobody knew what was going on. It was a normal flight. The FBI came to Terrell Davis and with handcuffs and said, don't fight it, don't resist, don't make a scene. How does it feel as a black man? And guess what? It's like his wife was saying, Terrell didn't have a choice in the matter. Because they could have called him, he's combative, he's a criminal, he's a monster. They would have said all that stuff. And this happened over the weekend. And by the way, this happened before, I mean, I might be mistaken, but before the Pepper incident. So you got all this going on now. And this is a pattern with racism within the airlines. You got an incident, again, like Odell Beckham Jr. years ago at American Airlines. All he did was he went to sleep, but then he said, oh, he was on drugs. And paraphrasing it, of course, he was on drugs, he was alcoholic, he was too drunk. But all he did was he went to sleep and they wake him up. Then you have the brothers, about a month ago, you have the brothers was escorted out of the airplane because the flight attendant said they had body odor, which wasn't even true, right? But yet they escorted him out of the airplane. Then the Pepper incident that I reported yesterday, how they treated Pepper on a Southwest Airlines flight, talking about all because she bought two seats because she was injured and because of her leg injury and blah blah blah. And now the Terrell Davis situation. Terrell Davis he's with John Elway, took to the Denver Broncos to 2 Super Bowls and win it. And he's a retired running back, one of the most respected players in the NFL. And this is how he treated. This is a pattern. This is why I say this is racism on the airlines, right? And so you see all these things are happening. You see the Odell Beckham situation. You see the brothers, like I think about 5 or 6 brothers been escorted out. You see the Pepper incident and now the Terrell Davis incident. This is a pattern. Now, I agree with Terrell with this. He said there's some unruly passengers. There are some like that. But why would you accuse a person of assault, which is really not assault at all? And again, there's a witness, and I'm glad that Terrell got him. There's a witness in front of Terrell said, man, you didn't hit him. You didn't deck him. But then, as a black man, no, I mean, they didn't even know who he is. Like the Pepper situation. They don't even know who Terrell Davis is until the CNN interview. They don't know who he is or his family. But this is how black people treated on when you flying somewhere. They think, oh, he's a criminal, he's a monster, don't know nothing about the person or what he does for a living, but yet they judge him because, oh, he's a monster, he has to did something. I mean, Terrell Davis, shouts out to him, shouts out to his wife and the rest of his family. But again, if I were Terrell Davis, I would file a lawsuit against United Airlines for this. Just like I told about Pepper. Pepper should file a lawsuit against Southwest Airlines. The brothers already filed a lawsuit against American Airlines, how they treated them. See, this has to stop. And the flight attendants need to be checked too. They need to be investigated. You don't know if their flight attendants is racist or they have a bad background themselves, but they need to be checked. And most airlines didn't check them. They just hiring them, get on these planes, do their job, and that's it. But they have to check their mental status. Are they racist? Are they combative as well? But they're not checking that. Again, Terrell Davis is one of the few either celebrities, athletes, like Peppa, like Odell Beckham Jr. These are a few celebrities that are going through what they went through with the flight attendants and the rest of these airlines. They treated Terrell Davis like an animal. And these are like I told you before, this is not LAPD is doing this. It's not the LA Sheriff's deputies are doing this. This is the FBI. The FBI. Oh, man. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments. And I'm glad that nothing seriously happened with Terrell Davis. I'm glad that they didn't do anything to him because they could have. But during that time, he was calm. He was cool. And I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. Because it could have turned differently if this would have happened to anybody else. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments.